Let's just bring you some breaking news we're getting from the Press Association regarding our top story, those comments made by the Archbishop of Canterbury. According to the Dublin Archdiocese tonight, the Archbishop of Canterbury has expressed his deep sorrow and regret over the comments he made that the Catholic Church in Ireland had lost all credibility over the child abuse scandal. The interesting thing about that, of course, is that those comments were made in a pre-recorded radio programme, start the week on BBC Radio 4, which won't be broadcast until Monday. But the Archbishop of Canterbury has expressed deep sorrow and regret over those comments, according to the Dublin Archdiocese tonight. Well, let's get some more reaction on those apologies and those comments in the first place. Jack Valero, spokesman for the Catholic movement Opus Dei, is here in the studio. I mean, this is turning a pace, isn't it? First we get these controversial comments released from the Archbishop of Canterbury about the Catholic Church. Now this apparent apology. What do you make of it all?
Well, I think it's sad that he made those comments in the first place. Archbishop Dermot Martin from Dublin is one who has done most, really, to clear up the mess. And he said he was stunned. And even the Anglican Bishop of the Church of Ireland said he heard those words with deep regret. So I think it's only right that something that was said perhaps on the spur of the moment can be withdrawn.
Interesting, isn't it, that Dermot Martin did say today that he did believe the Catholic Church in Ireland had lost some credibility over what had happened, but not all credibility.
Of course, and it has taken a big knocking, and I think trust will have to be rebuilt over the years, and things are being put in place. But to say it's lost all credibility is just beyond the pale, I think.
There are many voices amidst this scandal, which is continuing to emerge, who say part of the problem seems to be that the Vatican doesn't really seem to have accepted its own links to this scandal going back decades. Do you think that needs to be addressed now? In fact, the Pontiff and those closest around him need to get a grasp of that?
Well, before 2001, a lot of these matters were dealt with locally, and only in the gravest of cases were things sent to the Vatican, to the Congregation for the Clergy. Now, in 2001, Pope John Paul decided this wasn't working, that cases weren't dealt with, there was too much of a cover-up and so on. So he specifically asked Cardinal Ratzinger to take this over. In 2001, before that, he hadn't been involved. And from 2001, he read all the files, and he had what he describes as a conversion experience of thinking, wow, this must be dealt with immediately. So he cut the times that it took to take things to trial. He took out the ability to appeal against the sentences and so on, which had meant that trials went on and on and on. He defrocked priests. He instituted things so that priests could be defrocked very quickly. So in fact, he started cleaning up the filth, what he called the filth. And since becoming Pope, he's continued this policy. So in a sense, it's ironic, isn't it, that right now we're getting news reports surrounding him, trying to implicate him in things like the discredited now article in the New York Times from the 25th of March about a priest in Wisconsin, and trying to implicate him when in fact, he's the one who's done most in the church at the highest level to get rid of the problem and to move on, to say, put procedures in place, get rid of this, no more cover-up. Let's get on with it.
And yet, amid this, there are the people who say that whatever has been done up until this point, that the Vatican needs to be seen to be embracing some sort of element of transparency. So perhaps people can see what the Pope, and as Cardinal Ratzinger, what he did. And yet last night, his personal preacher seemed to go very much on the offensive, making those comments about this being comparable to the collective violence against the Jews. I mean, when you heard those comments, were you surprised, taken aback?
Yes, I was a little surprised. I mean, I think different people have different attitudes to the media. Personally, I think the media have every right to probe and ask questions from those in power. Otherwise, how are we going to know whether they are doing a good job or whether they did a good job before? So I think it's only right. I think, though, that over the last 2 weeks, several stories have been spun out of all recognition. And I think people are getting fed up now because they're thinking, look, he's fine. Why are you bringing up all these stories and spinning them out of recognition and trying to implicate the Pope when he's clearly not involved? And I think people, in getting fed up, are saying things that maybe on the spur of the moment they're saying them, and maybe later they think, well, that wasn't the right thing to say.
Is there a sense of irony, and I suppose not irony, but deep sadness for you and other Catholics across the globe, that all this row is taking place and it is escalating during Holy Week?
Yes.
I mean, this is the most holy week in the
Sure.
Christian calendar. It's meant to be a time for Christian renewal, as symbolised by what happened on Good Friday and Easter Sunday, and yet this row seems to be overtaking everything.
Yes, it's very sad. I mean, in a way, it happened over Monday, Thursday and Good Friday when, you know, and the Pope was almost crucified in the media. And, you know, in this very holy time, as you say. But I think what we are feeling, or I'm feeling as a Catholic, is that this is not fair, that the media should do its job, but it should do its job truthfully. And whilst most journalists are excellent and go about their stories, now somehow in the last 2 or 3 weeks we've got these few stories which are spurious and badly put together, which aren't really helping the process of cleaning up that's going on.
Jack Valero, will leave our chat there just for the time being, but just stay with me. I was just getting 1 or 2 little more details through, and this is indeed comments from Archbishop Dermot Martin, who you mentioned, about commenting on Rowan Williams on this, and again saying that the Archbishop of Canterbury telephoned Archbishop Martin to express deep sorrow and regret for the difficulties, to paraphrase them, which may have been created by the remarks he made in that interview. Archbishop Williams affirming that nothing could have been farther from his intention than to offend or criticise the Irish Church. Just briefly, Jack, do you think that these apologies now will suffice?
I think so. I mean, the way I read it, when I read it, I hadn't heard the programme, of course, which is going out on Monday. When I read it, I thought, well, this is just a comment off the cuff. I mean, he doesn't really mean this. And when it was, you know, put out there in all its starkness, then I thought, well, this isn't working. And then he's realised and he's apologised. And I think that's it, really. I mean, we can move on now.
Jack Valero from Opus Dei, thank you very much indeed. This is Sky News.